All right, let's start one more topic with in KS. Okay, General Studies 2. Okay, under lithosphere. The lithosphere. This is a topic for the lithosphere unit. We are talking of. We spoke about, right. What all we spoke about? The rock types, right, and then the weathering agents, erosion, right, denudational agents, endogenic agents, right. And today we're talking about soil formation. This is very important in terms of prelims. They asked in 2015 one questions. Like in 2015, they had asked in prelims in KAS on this soil. Like that we have to match the soil types and all those things. To understand the soil types, right? Black, red, laterite, and this kind of types. If you try to by heart this, it's very difficult to recollect in exams. If you understand, try to understand the reason behind the soil formations, it will be a cakewalk for you to relate things. Okay. So for example, they might ask which of the soil types has more humus. Okay. Which of the soil types is more has more ferrous content. Which of the soil types have more aluminum content. So these kind of solution questions have been asked. If you are understand the soil formation basics, then answering such questions will be far more easier. All right. So let's talk about soil. Soil is not only with respect to exam perspective, right? Soil formation is very important, even in terms of general understanding of nature and then understanding of like whatever we know that soil because of this it is because of the soil is what we survive. Plants grow and we are able to eat the plants and etc. That's the main. So soil formation. So, okay. So now, what is soil formation? Before you understand of the soil formation, let's see the peripheral topics. Like who, who are those who are called, who study the soil or called as, right? For example, they are known as pedologists, right? So pedon is a Greek word, which is means soil in Greek word. The one who studies soil is pedologists, right? So next, so soil study is actually divided into two. One is soil in natural form, who studies, right? So soil in natural form means what? The study of soil and soil itself only. That means what are the classifications of soil? Okay, what are the textures of soil? What are its chemical compositions? How it is formed? These are all our pedologists study those things. Study soil about soil. How the soil impacts on plant growth, how this soil impacts on organism growth, those impact, that relation between soil and life is that those are different subject. It is edaphology, right? So why I'm giving you this information? Because I'm give one because soil is such an important subject worldwide. So hence it's important for even for our geography as well. That's first point. Second thing is direct questions have come in this. They've asked like who or which category, what is the specialization called which studies soil formation in relation to plants and organisms. So many have gone to pathologists and it has gone, they got wrong answers. They were penalized for negative marks. And there was who has gone for edapology are very few, and they got an edge over others to clear the prelims. Got it? Fine. I'll give you notes. Don't worry. Tomorrow we'll give you notes. All right. So now we know who is studying, like what they are studying, right? Natural form pedologists, soil in relation with the plants and animals is edapology. Okay. So what does or more interested in pedologists. So what does pedologists say about soil? So what they say is, say for example, we know if you are an engineering student, we have known as sets and collections, right? Sets and collections, right? Mind you, they say soil is a set or collection of natural of natural materials such as what? Living and dead matter. Dead matter which supports plants. That's it. Very simple. So this is the natural and right set of collection of natural materials, right, comprising of living and dead materials which support plants. Right? Someone may ask question, right? Even it's a very natural thing. We thought, okay, soil is something when the rocks break into very minute particles, it becomes soil, right? So contrary to that understanding, this is a far more superior understanding of soil. Agreed? Because even in under the surface, why is important, right? This is an NCERT kind of definition, okay? This is a surface. Even in under the surface also, right? There are particles of rock which break. We know even in water, due to what is abrasion of corrosion, the rocks also break into particles, right? If I make a statement such as soil is nothing but a minute particles of rocks, then that is a wrong statement, right? That is not exact soil what we are looking for, right? Because that the one rock particles in river or the rock particles under the surface, it is not of any use for us, right? In the context of human beings, right? But we need to get everything perception in the context of human being, well-being of human beings. So if it is under the surface or in the floating solved in the rivers, it doesn't matter for us. That's why pedologists have come up with this more profound definition of soil. For it contains so living and dead materials, okay, which second part is which supports plants. Fine. Because under the surface also there may be living dead materials way down the surface, right? But will it helpful for plants? No. Down is really down. I'm not talking about trees. Trees roots also can go up to a certain extent. I'm going very down. Okay. Um, let's say that is the definition of soil given by pedologists, which has been taken in where NCERT textbook. So we have to know that the first case. Okay. So UPSC or KIS preparation is all about more about removing the myths, right? Unlearning is more than learning. Next, fine. So next is soil is dynamic in nature, right? See, soil is dynamic in nature. Why dynamic? Because there are many activities going on continuously. It is chemical, physical, biological. There's nothing much to understand in this because we know there's chemical activities. Why chemical activities going on? Because of what? Because of rainfall, right? Or heat, temperature. Because of these climatic conditions, there will be many chemical activities going on in soil dynamically. Because water gets mixed, we are seeing. If the calcium gets dissolved, there's a chemical activities. So physical activities, we have seen there's a breakage. What happens? Physical activities because of temperature changes, right? Temperature increases, decreases, there'll be cold, there'll be soil get warm. Because of this, there'll more like expansion of rocks, or expansion also have impact on soil particles. It will become more minute, okay? More particles will be broken out of small soil particles. All right. And the third is biological, we have seen. The plants' leaves will be shed, right? And then animals will die, decay, etc., and then they get decomposed. There's more of biological activities going on. Hence, it is dynamic in nature. Okay. Next. So dynamic in nature means soil characteristics always fluctuates, for example, with temperature. It's seasonal fluctuations are there. Right? The seasons change, means winter season, summer season, more heat, less heat, soil characteristics change. The activities in soil will change. And remember this. Okay, let me get back to that later. Second thing, let's talk about the process. Let's come to the process actually. This typical main type of question. What is the process of soil formation? Fine. I think so far good, right? Any questions about soil, pedologies, definition of soil, and dynamic fluctuations with soil features? Okay. Okay. Let's get into the process actually. What is the ultimate process? I hope many remembered long back I spoke about weathered mantle, right? We spoke about weathered mantle, right? There are six types of mantle. In deserts, there's only one. There'll be pure rocks, rock beds, right? And in as we go in tropical areas, temperate regions, the soil layers, sorry, the mantle layers will be high, so that the conduciveness of soil formation will increase. For example, in equatorial regions, there are six layers of weather mantle. I hope you people remember all those things. If not, try to revise. Okay, or if someone needs an explanation, drop me email to my email ID. I will explain all those things. All right. So this weather mantle, one thing. Weather mantle means in situ, right? The rock materials are broken onto small pieces in situ. Plus transportation. We know this mode of erosion, right? In erosion also, due to abrasions, the rock are broken into pieces, or the water eroding materials bring the weather materials to different places for deposits. So these two are the primary requirement for soil formation. Okay. Then what happens? Once they are formed, when the rocks are nicely broken to pieces, then we, second step, for this first step, right? Second step, we studied for many classes for this first step, right? Now the second step is more about bacteria colonies. The first one to capture such weather material is bacteria. Plus, there are something called very low plants like mosses and lichens. These are like low plants, very low level plants, not fully functional plants. So now bacteria colonies and mosses and lichens try to work on this whether they get colonized. Okay. Then what happens? Then what happens? Small organisms come and stay in that colonies because they get food. They eat bacteria, they eat mosses. Okay, fine. Then what happens? Small organisms. Then they die, dead. Okay, this results in humus, right? The the primary humus, because the one who's dead is bacteria, mosses, lichens, and small organisms. Once these are dead, and then they become, of course, there'll be more higher organisms start settling out, like especially what grass, like ferns will come. Okay, and then what happens next? Trees. Okay, now these grasses, ferns, again they die, they decompose. Again, the humus is enriched. It's a continuous process. Then the trees will come, right? Once the trees is come, what happens next after trees? There's something called their roots will do passages in the soil, then that aids burrowing animals. Mind you, till now there's no tiger, lion coming to the picture, right? There's only initial stages. First is bacteria, mosses, lichen, they die, primary humus, on that humus, grass grows, again grass dies, humus gets again enriched, then trees will come, big thanks to the seeds of birds. Some animals will drop the seeds in the soil and the trees will grow. And the trees grows, the roots loosen the soil. That helps the burrowing animals to burrow the soil. The burrowing animals are very important, very, very important because they they bring the, for example, right? I said that rock particles very deep beyond the soil layer, beyond the earth crust. Fine. And the burrowing animals, and the burrowing animals, right? When they burrow this, right, and they bring these particles up, right? Now these particles up, they make so much this whole soil material porous. Once they first is they bring particles up, right, and they make porous soil material, which will be like sponge like. Once it is porous and sponge like, right, then what happens? The retention capacity of soil increases. Right? Earlier, if the water falls on rocks, it just flows away, right? But if the water falls, rainfall falls on soil, will it flows away easily? No. The water gets retained in the soil. That is only because the soil is like a sponge, like it's porous, and then the water gets retained. Now this water plus humus plus water. Hope you can read my spellings. Plus this soil particles, right? Together, this together will form something called mature soil, and this is what is all about. And once the mature soil is there, there is more of biological activities, chemical activities, and these kind of things. I hope you followed me, right? Steps are just for our understanding, but just understanding in a very common sense manner. First, there'll be weather mantle, okay, which are like rock debris and these kind of things, and or something debris is brought down by the erosion, whichever way. Okay, on this the bacteria will colonize, leeches and molluscs will be there, and they will die, and they and following them small organisms will come, and small organisms they're also like very very minute organisms like single celled or something like that, algae, these kind of things. They die, humus is grown, on that grass will grow, right? Imagine. And when the grass grows, when they decompose, then there's humus is enriched. And with that trees, some birds will fall, will get the seeds in some way, right? And then that falls on the soil. The trees will grow because there's humus. And the trees will break the rocks, loosen the soil. That will help for burrowing animals to colonize. Once the burrowing animals colonizes, there will be the soil becomes more porous, right? That is very important. Porous and sponge-like, right? The trees will only break the soil, break the rocks, right? Give that loosen up. The rest of the work is done by burrowing animals. Okay, remember this because burrowing animals, this question has been asked many times. And then what happens? Then they also bring the rock materials, means the minerals from down the crust to up. And there is a mixture of everything, water, everything mixes together, and that is a mature soil. Fine. I hope you remember all these things. All right. So let's take structurally, let's analyze. So if someone asks in the question in the UPSC, right, we should be able to analyze in the structure manner. So what are the 5 important factors for soil formation? For one, we have seen it is parental material, right? That means the weathered materials. Maybe because of weathering, erosion, or mass wasting, whatever it is, the parent material is very required. Second is topography. So what is topography is all about? Topography is all about the structure of the earth surface, right? Some part of the earth surface will be very slopy, some will be flat, some will be gently sloped. Okay. If it is very flat, right, the the thickness of soil is very small. Obvious reason because if the rainfall, everything is it's slided away and resulting in very small layer of weathered mantle for these bacteria and organism to work, right? So that's why the soil layer will be very thin. If it is a flat area like Deccan Plateau, right? Plateau, right? In that there is the soil cannot move, the weathered mantle cannot slide. In that case, there is a thick layer of soil is formed, right? And then if it is gentle slope, it is the most suitable way for forming of rich soil. Why? Gentle slope has a significance. If it is flat, right, there is no rotation of soil. Right? If it is gentle, right, the upper layer of soil will be moving slowly, and with that slow movement, it will be getting more and more mature because bacteria will survive on that slow movement, and also it facilitates for underlying mantle to get exposed to the surface. Again, when that soil will be more enriched with bacteria. Right? So if someone asks questions, which is the most favorable topography? Slope, gentle slope, flat surface, it should be gentle slope, right? Not the flat surface, right? It is the topography part. So third part is, of course, climate. So these two are passive. Climate, we know, without temperature, rainfall, the more moisture, the more intensity, the more evaporation, etc. We have more activities, biological, chemical activities, and hence it helps actively in the soil formation. We know, remember, soil formation, soil is more about living and dead materials and less about what? Rock materials, right? Rock materials is of course required. It's for the very first stage, the mantle, the weathered mantle, but it is not the soil itself. That's what I'm trying to say. Soil forms from weather mantle, but weather mantle itself is not soil. That we should be very clear about it. And the soil is more about living and dead animals. The humus is it's more about the humus. Fine. That is climate. And even temperature we have seen, right? Climate as first is moisture, right? And temperature, right? So what is this moisture? We have seen what is temperature. You know, with seasonal also there's an impact on soil formations, activity, etc. And the fourth one is of course talked about biological activity. We have spoken about this, right? Biological activities spoke about, right? The entire soil formation is about biological activities. Bacteria, osmosis, leeches, plants, trees, animals, burrowing animals, right? The burrowing animals also have create air passages, right? During the burrowing, even that this air is very important for soil formations, for more organisms to grow within the soil. So they get oxygen, carbon dioxide, and of course, time scale. The more the time, the better the more mature the soil is. Time scale is very important. So in this one topic I wanted to know with respect to temperature, there are few questions which are asked in prelims. So in prelims, there was something about that's hard pans. So what are these hard pans? In desert areas, especially in desert, right? Let's say desert areas, okay, there is soil pans are available. Remember, salt, common salt is not only manufactured from sea. It is also manufactured from deserts. We should know. Now, question is from where the salt comes from in desert. So what happens if I'll tell you hard pans are formed which are like salt structures in desert regions. In desert region, right, the rate of evaporation is very, very high compared to availability of water, H2O. So in that circumstances, what happens? There is a capillary effect formed. In that situation? There is a capillary effect formed. Capillary effect is what? The rays of water against the gravity is capillary effect. That's the capillary effect. Is the way by which plants will suck the water from the underground sources, right? The same capillary effect happens in desert also. In desert, what happens? There is underground water source. Let's remove this. There's underground water source, right? Due to this evaporation is much higher, right? There's a capillary effect. These water source will start coming from within the bottom, within the underlying areas, and then they convert into gaseous state evaporation. Remember, it's not only lakes and rivers evaporate on the surface, even the underground water sources. On doing so, it evaporates, but it leaves behind the salt. And those salt is called as hard pans. Okay. I hope you were clear on this. Any questions? Please drop a chat. Very important. Fine. So next related word is conquer. Conquer. I want you to today make a small, like a handfold, fine, paper and write in big letters conquer and hard pans and stick it somewhere in your table. For a week, keep seeing these words. Right? So conquer is nothing but calcium carbonate, nodules. Right? This type of soil, okay, this type of soil which is rich in calcium carbonate. And so this is very important because the lime, right? That's where we do mining of lime and all those things. So some those mining areas are called conquer, like hard pans where we mine salt, right? In conquer areas is where we mine for calcium carbonate for limestones. So those nodules are formed. These are called as rich in soils called as conquer. Right. So we're done for the class today. Okay. Any questions?